Right, everyone, it is Finn here, and welcome to my Premier League Match Week 1 predictions. Of course, brand new Premier League season is upon us. We all start from a fresh start, and from this point, absolutely anything can happen. And of course, with Match Week 1, I thought that I might as well add a guest to the series as it is a brand new Premier League season. And of course, today I'm joined by the likes of Max. Now, of course, Max, how are you doing?
I'm great, mate. Thank you very much for having me on your channel. I'm very excited to get into this new season. Seeing Forest back in the Premier League makes me buzzing. So yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really, really fun. Of course, guys, don't forget to check out Max's channel. I've linked it in the description down below when you check out this video. Now, of course, just before jumping into the predictions, as you said, you yourself are a Forest fan. Now, excuse me for doing a tiny bit of digging, but I couldn't help but realize that the season that they got relegated, is that not when you were born?
Yeah, I was about 6 months old when we were relegated from the Premier League, and I've seen us play League One. I've seen us be pretty bad in the Championship as well. So seeing us back in the Prem, it's a bit weird. The Championship kicks off this weekend as we're recording, and it feels weird that I'm not going to be watching it this season. Well, not really going to be watching it this season.
Yeah, no, it must be super weird because I only realized the other day that I've never witnessed Forest in my lifetime, neither of you. So it's a very, very weird feeling. But of course, I'm sure we're going to jump straight into that. But of course, jumping into our first predictions, or our first set of predictions, let me get it up on screen right now, if I would like to add. So as you can see on screen right now, we've got our first predictions. Now, of course, starting off with game one, we've got Crystal Palace versus Arsenal. Now, I couldn't help but realize, obviously, that looking at these two teams in the last 10 meetings, they've actually drawn 5 out of their last 10 games, which, I mean, I don't know if it's that much of a surprise. Crystal Palace have always been some sort of kryptonite towards Arsenal. What are your initial thoughts about this?
I think it's a really enticing fixture. Palace picking up a win against Arsenal at the back end of the last season, and the business they've been doing over the last 18 months or so is very, very good. I'm a big fan of a lot of the signings they've made. Arsenal in their own right, they've made some really good signings as well, but Palace, they're definitely a club on the up, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an upset.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's also Arsenal. I feel like you could say you wouldn't be surprised if you saw an upset. It is Arsenal, of course. But I mean, looking at them, I don't know, during preseason, you can never judge during preseason. It's not a fair way to judge them. But looking at the signings that they've made, I can only see Arsenal improving this season. I fear that maybe Crystal Palace could struggle a tiny bit without Conor Gallagher. Of course, as I said, or as we both said, Arsenal, it could be a very close game. And I think I'm going to start us off with a 2-1 win in Arsenal's favour. Who knows? What are you thinking from score point of view?
This is exactly the one I've gone for. I think Jesus is going to get his first goal for Arsenal in the Prem. Big fan of that signing. I think he's going to do really well for them. I think he fits their system to a T. And whilst I think Palace will have a good season this year, I think Arsenal are very much an improving team. I wouldn't be surprised if they get a Champions League place come the end of the season.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. I think they've built a really strong team. I mean, as they say every single season, if they can put a good string of games together, maybe. But I do think definitely Arsenal probably will win this one. I mean, who knows? And I'm probably going to put Jesus as my player to watch for a fixture like that. But of course, jumping into the second game, I mean, is it just me, or does Liverpool play a promoted team every single match day one? I swear every single match day one, they play either Leeds or Norwich. Now they have Fulham.
Yeah, literally, it's kind of weird. You're not wrong there. I've just noticed that as well. That's a really good point. I suppose for them they'll be singing, because I think Fulham are going straight back down again.
Yeah,
they've done some good business. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't think they're quite up to the quality of the Premier League at the moment, and I think they're happy with that.
Yeah, probably. I mean, even when they spent £100 million in the Premier League, they still went down. They've brought in 1 or 2 decent signings at this point. Obviously, we're recording this before the Charity Shield final, obviously between Liverpool and Man City. So, I mean, whatever we say here, I mean, for all we know, there could be a very bizarre result there and we could look like idiots. But I mean, assuming that Liverpool obviously are the better team here, which, let's be honest, they are. I mean, I don't see any problem with Liverpool winning this one. I mean, maybe I could see Fulham scraping a quick goal in the beginning, catching everyone off guard, but I do see Liverpool getting a pretty comfortable 3-1 win.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I think you've been pretty generous there, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it could be an absolute smack. Once again, we're going to have to see how Liverpool kind of start off the season without Sadio Mane, obviously with Darwin Nunez added in, which I could see grab a goal or two here. Could be very interesting. What do you make of the Nunez signing?
I think Nunez is a really good player. I think he's a player who's got a lot of potential. I don't think he's worth 100 million euros, but at the same time, it's what he's worth to Benfica. And if Benfica think that they could get that much for him, then like credit to them for getting that. And I think don't be surprised if he maybe only gets like 12, 13, 14 goals this season, but then kicks on, because we've seen it in the past with a lot of players Klopp's side. It takes them a year or so to sort of adjust to a system.
Yeah, I don't think he's not going to replicate the numbers that Sadio Mane had for them. And I think that's the problem. And whether you have to spend more than £100 million for that, I mean, it's modern football. There's definitely a lot more money in it. But obviously moving on, unfortunately, I don't know why the graphic hasn't really loaded in there. But we've got Bournemouth versus what could be a very funky Aston Villa kit. I would like that as an Aston Villa kit, you know.
It's pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Bournemouth, I mean, once again, they've got a few decent players in there. Obviously, if I'm not mistaken, the best defense in the league last season in the championship. But I mean, versus Aston Villa, once again, it's a very weird game because I feel like Aston Villa from time to time do struggle to score, where Bournemouth obviously defensively very strong. So I feel like this is where one of our first surprises could come in. I mean, initially I had a draw written down, but looking at one or two of the signings that Villa have brought in, obviously getting Coutinho on a permanent deal as well, I do have a slight suspicion that although I want to put a shock result here, I might just go for the Villains with the 2-1 win.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair result. Obviously, with Forest being in the Championship last season, well, I saw Bournemouth a fair amount, and my one complaint with them would be that they're quite one-dimensional. Obviously, Scott Parker as a coach, historically, he's wanted his teams to play quite possession-based football, and I think when that goes into the Premier League, it doesn't translate as well because obviously there's an inferior quality of players. And I'm also a bit worried they've not spent any money. They've signed a couple of players on frees, Ryan Fredericks and Joe Rothwell, but they've not spent any money yet as we're recording. So I'm a little bit worried about them. I do think it's going to be a tough season for them.
No, I think you've really hit it on the head there. You've hit the nail on the head. It's so weird though when it comes to promoted teams because I mean we've just spoken about Fulham spending £100 million and them not being good enough. Then you talk about a team like Bournemouth not really spending money, and it's difficult to really put down what exactly you need to do to stay in the Premier League. I mean, maybe Bournemouth using the players that got them promoted could work, but I mean this Bournemouth team isn't nearly as strong as the team that went down, if I may say. So I mean, yeah, I think it's probably a fair assessment that Aston Villa probably are the favourites in this. They should end up getting a win. I am going to end up putting forward a 2-1 win. And player to watch, once again, I mean, beginning of last season, someone like Danny Ings didn't look too bad. Probably going to be my favourite this time around. Now, of course, look, I'm going to be honest, Max. When I wrote down this prediction, this is the one that I had the most difficulty choosing an actual winner. Like the rest, I could choose a winner, no problem. And it was just a matter of how far will they win by. But I mean, Leeds versus Wolves. It's a weird one.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. When I was looking through the games coming up this weekend, man, I sound really bad as well. I couldn't care less who wins out of these two teams. They're just they're going to be fine, both of them this season. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they're going to get relegated, but I have no idea what to say other than I think Leeds will maybe struggle with losing Rafinha and Calvin Phillips this summer, although they've done some really good business to replace them so far. I think Wolves, they've got Raul Jimenez out for the first 8 weeks or so of the season. They don't have a lot of firepower up front. So I'm leaning more towards a Leeds win, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah, no, I once again, I tend to agree. I mean, in my predictions, I actually said that I do think Leeds will get relegated. Unfortunately, we saw spells last season without Phillips, and when they were missing Bamford, they looked like they could struggle. Now, losing Phillips permanently, obviously losing Rafinha, although they've brought in Tyler Adams and other players like that. Once again, it's going to be a really weird matchup. Obviously, Leeds United had the second worst defense in the league last season. We're looking at Wolves. They had the fourth worst attack, so it really doesn't work well together here. So, I mean, as you said, even when Jimenez has been playing, when he hasn't been injured, even then, he hasn't been the same player since his injury, which might be the best work David Luiz has ever done in his life, is taking the ability from Jimenez. But at the end of the day, I think I tend to agree, and I do think this could be entertaining, and I'm going to go with a 1-0 win in Leeds United's favour. And probably, I mean, a player to watch. It's going to be interesting to see whether Tyler Adams really is the perfect Calvin Phillips replacement. Now, of course, moving on, we've got, okay, well, Nottingham Forest also have a funky kit by the looks of things. Great. We've got Newcastle United.
I don't think it compares to our kit this season. It's not sure about that.
No, I'm not sure about that. But you know what? It's Nottingham Forest. It's your baby. I'm going to let you start with this. What are your thoughts?
So I think the biggest complaint most people are seeing with Forest is that we're spending too much money. And I think I would be a hypocrite if I said that if I didn't agree with some of that when I'm saying like Fulham spending too much money a couple of seasons ago. I understand that. But with Forest, they're just, the signings we've made are more tailor-fitted to our system. When you look, I'm going to get a bit nerdy here, so apologies if your viewers lose track of it. If you look at things like attack speed and passes per attacking sequence, which are really good for judging how direct the team is on the counter-attack, the players we're signing are players that are very high for attacking speed and very low for passes per attacking sequence, which means they attack in their teams with a lot of speed, very direct. And that's exactly how Forest wanted to play last season. I think the players that we've signed are more tailor-fitted to that system, which is great. And I think it's a system that better fit the Premier League when you're coming up from the Championship. You're going to see Fulham and Bournemouth try and retain possession quite a lot, whereas I think we're going to be a lot more direct, and I think that will serve us in finishing in a high position this season.
Yeah, I think once again you're probably correct there. I mean, looking at the players you've brought in, obviously Awoni, obviously the Nigerian striker, is someone from Africa. I mean, I always get excited when I see African players make big moves. And once again, as you said, playing for a team like Union Berlin, it's not the biggest team in the Bundesliga, but a very attacking style of football. Obviously, if you look at other players such as Jesse Lingard, once again with West Ham United, he really helped them last season or 2 seasons ago at this point. Obviously, Henderson, once again, when he was at Sheffield United, proved that he didn't have to be in a big team to have a strong start. So, of course, I mean, looking at these players, they haven't all been at big clubs. So, of course, they've had to stick out. They've had to play very well. So, I think you could have a surprise. But what are your chances versus the richest club in world football?
It's a tough one. A lot of my family are Newcastle fans, including my brother. So, I think this is going to be quite a contentious one. But I do think Forest are going to pick up the win on the day. I think it's a really good test for us because I think Newcastle are a really good sort of middle of the road sort of team this season. They'll probably finish about 9th, 10th, so it's a good test. And I think that our counter-attacking will maybe catch them on surprise at times because they'll probably try and retain possession more.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Look, I really, because I've got you here, I so badly want to give you some sort of benefit of a doubt. But I mean, just looking at some of the signings Newcastle brought, I mean, Nick Pope, P. Giles Well is going to be a fantastic goalkeeper for them. Sven Botman, if they can get a proper number 9 up front, then I think they're so sorted. I mean, as I said, I'm sorry, Max. I'd love to give you guys a chance, but I think I'm going to go for. I'll just pretend I'm
not seeing it. I'll pretend I'm not seeing it.
Okay, I'm scrolling. It's gone. It's on the screen. Yeah. Oh, Spurs versus Southampton next. Now, of course, I mean, Spurs. I've heard people say that they think Spurs could challenge for the title this season. Look, I don't think it's far wrong. I think the signings they've brought in, from Richarlison to Basuma to Spence to so many others, Spurs will be lethal this season. Versus Southampton, I mean, once again, Spurs are a lot like Arsenal, could bottle it on the day. But my initial thought, I think Spurs are definitely the favourites here.
Yeah, I think I'm a really big fan of a lot of the business Spurs have done. Basuma's a fantastic signing. Did come with a bit of baggage, but that seems to have cleared up for whatever reason. Kulusevski staying, obviously, for the rest of his loan. Richarlison, that as a front four, like his options, is maybe one of the best in the league. Bit controversial saying that. And obviously seeing Jed Spence play all of last season, what Spurs have got there is somebody who's very, very good on the ball, very good ball carrier, defensively very solid, absolute freak of an athlete. And I think under Conte, he's the exact kind of wing back he'll want. So yeah, I think Spurs are going to have a really good season this year. But don't discount Southampton. They've done some good business as well, in fairness.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the likes of Joe Aribo, I think he's going to be an absolute machine in the midfield once again, another Nigerian superstar. And you know what? I think so far with the current predictions, I think Spurs are going to have the better of the results. And I think they could get a 3-0 win and start off the Premier League match day at the top of the table.
Yeah, I think that's a fairly fair result, to be fair. I think Tottenham have too much firepower for Southampton to deal with. And they're still in transition. They're still getting the new signings bedded in. So I think it's only fair.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, Tottenham Hotspur seem to be on fire form, winning the Walter Toll Memorial Cup. I mean, how can you not back a team that's winning
Get that in the
silverware?
trophy can the boys.
Yeah, winning silverware left, right, and center. You have to go for them. Lovely, lovely. But of course, next up, once again, we've got the Frank Lampard derby with Everton versus Chelsea. Once again, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've got a very, very strong favorite here.
Yeah, I'm really worried about Everton this season. I genuinely think, and I'm sort of in the process around my Premier League predictions. I'm worried. I think they might get relegated this season. They've done, as of recording, they've done Tarkowski, Ruben Vinagre from Sporting, and Dwight McNeil, who are upgrades in those positions, but are not game changers. And I don't think they see the way Frank Lampard's going to play. He hasn't experienced this kind of thing as a manager or a player before, where there is that threat of relegation. And I think, although Chelsea are in transition, they are much, much better as a team, and I think they'll blow them out of the water.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you're right. And I mean, signing players from obviously relegated clubs, it has helped on numerous occasions. I mean, you look at top clubs like Liverpool, when they brought in Robertson or Shaqiri or Wijnaldum, all of those players. But I mean, Everton, a team that is currently struggling, and to really, I don't know, Tarkowski definitely is a top quality centre-back. I just can't see a way of them winning now that they've lost Richarlison, especially versus a team who, as you said, is in a transition period, but just got Raheem Sterling, just got Koulibaly. It's not going to be easy. Once again, I think Chelsea could be up there with Spurs in terms of top of the table after this match week, but I'm going to go for a 2-0 win. I think it could be a lot more, but I think they're going to start off 2-0.
Yeah, it's a very fair result, I think. No complaints.
Yeah, I think that's how it's going to go. And I mean, player to watch, it's Raheem Sterling. There's no, once again, phenomenal player. Let's see if he fits the system. Now, of course, I mean, I don't know what's up with the app. I don't know why, if it's match week 1, that it's not loading the kits, but you know what? At least it keeps the name there. But we've got Leicester City versus Brentford. Now, of course, Leicester City, horrific season last season. Of course, Brentford really surprising people in their first ever Premier League season. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup. What's your first thought?
I'm a bit confused why Leicester haven't signed anyone yet, because it's not as if they have owners who are usually quite reluctant to sign players, and it looks like Kasper Schmeichel might be leaving, so they don't really have a first choice keeper at the moment. And there's some really good players out there that I think would really fit their level, like Europa League, Conference League level, out there for like really good fees that I'm surprised they've not looked at. Brentford, on the other hand, they've made some really good business. Aaron Hickey's a really good signing from, was it Bologna he came from? He looks really exciting. He's got a lot of potential, and they'll do what they do every year. They'll bring in some players who nobody's ever heard of, who will do really well because they fit the system. And I wouldn't be surprised if they have another solid season this year.
Yeah, once again, I mean, even bring in the likes of Ben Mee. I mean, Ben Mee is a player who could have gone to Leicester City, in my opinion. I mean, he's a leader. He's a solid centre-back. I mean, although they've lost Christian Eriksen to Man United, which I'm still, as a United fan, wrapping my head around whether I like it or not. At the end of the day, if they can keep Ivan Toney, if they can keep their goalkeeper, if they can keep, once again, a player like Ben Mee, Brentford have a solid chance versus Leicester. I mean, as we said, this is recorded slightly early by the time this video comes out. I mean, we might sound like idiots. Kasper Schmeichel might have been in his first week at Nice already in the French league. So, I mean, it's a difficult one to choose. But you know what? I'm going to give Leicester City the benefit of a doubt. And I am going to give them a 1-0 win because I think it's going to be one of those James Maddison master goals. One of those.
Yeah, I think to be fair, with the Fana, Barnes and Maddison back at full fitness, they will feel like new signings for them. Obviously, they didn't have Fana for the whole year last year. And I think that will make a difference in adding some depth to their team.
Yeah, no, big time. Now, of course, moving on, we've got Man United versus Brighton. Now, I mean, it's sad to say as a Man United fan, but I mean, anything more or less than a 4-0 loss versus Brighton is an improvement off of last season, sadly. But you know what? I anything I say is going to sound biased as a Man United fan, but United should win this one, and they should win it comfortably. Once again, you shouldn't say the word should in football, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to start off, once again, maybe you'll stop me here, with a 3-0 win. I mean, looking at Brighton, they've lost Basuma in the midfield. That's a huge part of their game. Where Man United, they've had a very strong pre-season, although they haven't necessarily brought in a lot of players. Once again, they've got the quality in their team. They just need a manager, maybe like Erik ten Hag, to kind of put them together.
Yeah, I agree with you to the extent that I think they're going to get a bit of a new manager bounce that you kind of see with a lot of clubs when they bring someone new in. I think he's obviously got some new ideas that they clearly haven't had. Watching them in pre-season, obviously you've probably seen them more than I have, but from what I've seen, they've looked really, really good. Martial seems like he's back in the fit. Rashford and Sancho look like they're fully fit again, and I think that is a really exciting prospect. The De Jong deal seems really weird. It seems like United put all the eggs in that basket. You might know more than me on that one, but I think getting Lisandro Martinez from Ajax, he seems like a really good fit, not just in defence, but he can play left back or defensive midfield. And I think when you're playing so many games this season, having that versatility, just like with Eriksen, he'll come in and he can play 10, he can play wide both sides. Having someone who can sort of come in and play not every game, but add some competition and some quality and depth is very important, I think. So I think that's a fair result.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm with you to an extent, even though I've watched some of the games in terms of, I don't know where this United team's going. I'm just waiting to see what happens. But in the meantime, I'm okay predicting a win. Dare I say Martial to be the player to watch? Probably not. Let's be honest, now that the season's starting, they're probably going to start Ronaldo if he stays. Otherwise, I mean, United, it's scary when Martial looks good. But of course, Max, that takes us to our final game of the match week. Match week 1, West Ham United versus Manchester City. What a game.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really interesting game because it was at the back end of last season. We had that, I think it was a 2-2 draw between City and West Ham where both sides look really, really good. City coming off the back of the Premier League title. West Ham have done some really good business this summer already. Scamacca looks like a really exciting prospect up front and a really good option other than Antonio up front. But City have got Haaland up front. I don't know how you can argue against them winning. They have to be the favourites for this game and the league. Yeah,
no, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, Scamacca, kind of a striker who's been under the radar. I mean, only scored 1 goal less than Tammy Abraham in the Italian league last season. But at the end of the day, I mean, these two teams, it's going to be entertaining. I've kind of come to that verdict. But the last time West Ham United beat Manchester City at home was all the way in 2014. And if you're telling me that they're going to end up beating a Man City team with Erling Haaland up front, I mean, once again, I don't see it happening. I could see it being entertaining, but I'm going to put down a 3-1 win. I think Man City should be comfortable here.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very fair result. One thing I will say is I would be surprised if West Ham score. City's defence was incredible last season and actually quite underrated. So I would lean more towards them keeping a clean sheet, but I think City are going to blow them out of the water. I think Haaland's going to have a really good debut. And it's going to be really exciting. I'm genuinely really excited to see him in the Premier League.
Yeah, no, me too. You know what? I'm gonna trust you, Max. I'm gonna trust you. I'm gonna put a clean sheet for Man City. I'm gonna trust you there. I mean, look, I think you're right. I mean, Man City could smack West Ham. Yeah, they could get a 4-0 or 5-0 win, and they could all be Erling Haaland goals. I don't know about you. I don't understand those people who say that Erling Haaland might not work in the Premier League. I get we've said that about players before, but Erling Haaland, he can't not work, right?
I mean, he is at the core one of the best finishers in the world. And if he is, he gets injured a lot. I understand that. And, that's going to affect things like mobility. But if you can just park him in the box, which City will want someone to do, he can head, he can shoot with both feet. Having someone who can just do that for you, they're going to create the chances. That's not going to be the problem. And he can finish them. So I think it's a seamless fit. And I'm frightened actually because we've got City quite early in the season away from home, and I'm quite nervous and quite worried about playing them.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it in terms of our 10 games for match week 1 of the brand new Premier League season. Once again, we start off with some fantastic games to watch out for. Obviously, Max, good luck with Nottingham Forest. You must be tremendously excited.
I am. Words cannot comprehend how excited I am. The playoff final, I was a mess. So just you wait until next weekend when we get kicked off. I am going to be a mess this week.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not excited. I mean, you guys are a brand new promoted team, which means you probably will beat Man United when that fixture comes about. But guys, please remember, I forgot how to speak English there for a second. Please remember to like this video if you did end up enjoying. Put your predictions in the comment section down below. Of course, make sure to check out Max's channel in the description down below. And don't forget to subscribe for more football content. Obviously, brand new Premier League season. As I said in the beginning of the video, a fresh start where nothing has happened yet. No one's ruined their season yet or even made it. But guys, until next time, this has been Finn and Max. Until next time, cheers.
Thanks for watching, guys.